Are you tired of the typical libraries with conventional music that makes you feel meh? Introducing Leerecs.com, the music website made for and by minds like you. Our team are lifelong musicians and producers in love with music. Search the Leerecs music catalogs and find music with guaranteed originality. Mark the difference with music of signature at Leerecs.com.
This is bright! Isn't it bright? This is a fantastic song by a wonderful band. We have Bad Graffiti. And here we have them. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's up? Good, how are you?
Yo.
Hey, so we have Brant and Tyler. This is Bad Graffiti. This is Bright, a wonderful, wonderful piece of music. Beautiful, beautiful song, and a lot of intensity, and really, really well executed and produced. We want to hear about you. We want to know more about your band, your project, about yourselves. Please take the floor, introduce yourselves.
All right. So I guess a little background. Personally, I've been playing music since I was like 10 years old. Been in bands ever since, some more successful than others. And I think you could kind of say the same about everybody in the band. We've all kind of been in other projects that are in the same sort of realm, sort of like the pop punk alternative. One of the guys was like in a lot of metal bands. Tyler was in some pop punk bands. I don't know if he wants to name drop, but his were a little more successful than the rest of ours. But yeah, I mean, so this kind of project started right at the beginning of COVID, and one of the guys had a studio in his house, so we were able to record everything there, and it was all DIY. We had a lot of fun recording and kind of just meeting every week and hanging out. But these songs, I wrote pretty much the bulk of, the lyrics and the structure, and kind of basically the songs. And everyone kind of had their own input, but basically it was kind of my little brainchild, listening to a lot of bands like kind of Midwest pop punk bands like the Menzingers, Wonder Years, Red City Radio, Born Without Bones, stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun, and we just love music. We love, drinking beer, hanging out. And this was a fun little project. But this album kind of is me going through my 20s. It's like there's sort of an overarching theme. It's called Sidewalks, and everyone's got their own path or sidewalk. And I can get a little deeper into that if you want, but I guess now I'll pass it on to Tyler.
Okay, let's hear it, Tyler.
Yeah, well, I had met our drummer Dan previously through a former project, and like Brent said, Dan has a home studio and a practice space, and he and Brent met initially And I remember when I just heard some of the live demos they were doing, I told Dan, you gotta let me, connect with this guy and, play in this band, because it sounds like right up my alley. It'd be a lot of fun. And we actually, the three of us, built a little like awning covering for Dan's patio in the summer. That's how we started to like meet and socialize more. And I didn't really ask Brent's permission. Dan had the demos that they were recording, on his computer, and I said, hey, let me just lay down some leads over this and then just see what Brent thinks. If he hates it, cool, no hard feelings. And thankfully he liked it. And so we started to work on the demos more intentionally. And so, yeah, if Brent kind of brings the meat of the songs, I think, we all kind of bring our own seasoning, so to speak. And I'm really into composition, arrangement of songs. I like cool lead guitar parts. And so I do most of that work in the studio and in live, and then I also sing harmonies and background vocals, live and on, in the studio as well. So that's kind of my role.
That's an amazing story. What there's so many things to pick up from your story that are great, and are a great example for other musicians as well, right? First of all, take the chance, right? So, and be proactive. You like it, and you think you will fit, and you do the work on your own, and take a risk, and present it to the band, to the person, the composer, the songwriter, whoever it is. But you took that risk proactively because you wanted to be part of that. And secondly, you definitely have to do it you must be really, really good, because sometimes is very opinionated, right? So, I create something, and then somebody comes along and shows you, I will do it this way, and hold on, sometimes, that could be a little controversial, but if Brent's like it, then it's gotta be, like you said, right up your alley. Definitely a great story. Very, very good example to follow. Absolutely. So, all right, and you started to record, and I think you mentioned before when we were talking, Brent, Tyler was also very fundamental at the time of producing these song that we're listening to, right?
Yeah. So, everyone kind of had their own input. Tyler and I get along really well, especially like musically. We could sit there and play. We just did it the other night, just play acoustic guitars together for hours and hours. And then all of a sudden it's like midnight and we're like, oh, what are we doing? We got to be up and go to work tomorrow morning. But yeah, we really relate on, music and riffs and like, he's one of those guys you don't meet very often in your life, playing music with hundreds of people, and, some people come around and you just like click immediately, and especially with guitar, like he'll play something and it's just like perfect. There's no challenge for me to play something that goes along with what he's playing and for it to sound awesome, right away. So Tyler and I really click in that sense, and pretty much everything, like you said, when he came into the band and he started, laying down tracks, and I heard him, and everything that I heard was just perfect. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Let's do it. Yeah, he's in. So perfect fit.
And I'll say too, like, I'm a singer-songwriter myself, and it takes me forever to write a song. I mean, I have just notebooks of half-written songs, and I have a lot of respect for someone who can just produce songs, at the rate that Brent does. And so there's something special about that. And being a singer-songwriter myself, I I have like a reverence for that, and so when he brings something to the table, like I know how it feels to kind of be vulnerable in that sense and bring your, your little baby creations to the group. And so like, yeah, I want to, of course, have ideas, but the goal is to support that, and also to just have respect for that role, because without that, initiation, there's no further, work to be done. And so that's my favorite part of the process, really, because like such a challenge for me. So when you meet somebody that just has a book full of songs acoustically and are willing to bring it to the table and willing to allow input, that's my favorite scenario, frankly.
All right, so tell us then a little bit of your beginnings. Where was that event, or in your story, that made you, wow, I want to make music? Tell us a little bit of that, of the person behind the music.
It's a great question, man. I mean, for me, I'm married, I have 4 kids, and we're all in our like mid-30s, and I think I guess I'll just say personally, I got to a point where I wasn't playing music for like 5-6 years or something, and thought that was I was kind of done with that, just living the life of domestic life, let's say, work and family and everything like that. And so when I met Dan, our drummer, and we met just over like a Craigslist ad, I decided to just put something out there. And I had just relocated from Atlanta to Madison, Wisconsin, which is where our band's based out of. And Dan replied, and we started to make music together, and that was, and then of course, yeah, like I said before, Dan introduced me to Brent. So for me, I have a lot of gratitude that I'm able to get back in the studio and actually play live and, find the time, to continue to pursue this. Cause for me, I thought maybe that time had passed, so I'm really, grateful for all the guys.
Nice. Before we move on to Brent, what was the point? What was the time in your life that you decided to, or you chose, or music appreciation found you in a way that you wanted to become a songwriter?
Yeah. Forgive me. You're going like way back when you say beginnings. Got you. Yeah. So I mean, I've always, from the time I was a child, I've been into music. My mom taught me how to sing harmonies to like Fleetwood Mac, and it's just always been a part of my life. And I think that finally, I think it wasn't until my like senior year of high school I finally got that first guitar, and me and my friends all bought instruments, and we were going to start a band together. Well, I was the only one that kind of diligently pursued it and really started to learn really quickly, and that progressed really fast because I had some background with vocals and things like that. And so and in Atlanta we had a really great music scene at the time. There was some bands that were just kind of blew up over the years, like Cartel and Copeland, and later on What Was Me, and I was involved in starting an all ages music venue there outside of Atlanta. And so it was just like cross pollination, and the acceleration that you can have as a musician in that context is just like phenomenal, because you're just learning from guys and what they're doing and their experiences. And so it kind of just took off from there for me.
Wonderful. Now, Brent, please tell us about your story.
Sure, I guess starting from the beginning, my first guitar was my grandpa's guitar, and he let me borrow it kind of just to see if I liked to play, and loved it, fell in love right away. And I'd always watched him, I remember sitting on his living room floor watching him play like old rockabilly stuff like Johnny Cash and
Nice.
country songs and stuff like that. Super intriguing to me. The guitar had always been something that I was really just intrigued and interested by, and so I started playing his guitar for like a year and loved it. Never got frustrated. I know a lot of people, like, when they first start playing guitar, it's like it hurts your fingers and you're like, this, I don't like this. But never got, it was just really natural. And so then I started getting into bands, like a lot of punk bands and pop punk bands, same as Tyler. Blink and Green Day, NoFX, Bad Religion, the whole like SoCal kind of punk scene, which that kind of showed through in my playing. And I grew up in the Chicagoland area, and there was such a strong like scene for that sort of music, Fall Out Boy and Teenage Bottle Rocket, like big bands like that coming out of Chicago. So I was exposed at an early age, and especially being in a band, being in bands throughout like middle school and high school. We got to like meet a lot of these people, and it was, I'm really grateful that I was able to be exposed to that scene, and because I don't think a lot of kids have that opportunity. I'm glad that I was able to do the pop punk thing with Bad Graffiti, because I feel that it's really kind of my roots and my heart and soul. So, like I said, just, the reason that I got into music and got into playing with other people was, bands just like Bad Graffiti. Like, I loved listening to, the Dead Milkmen, the Descendants, and Mounting Souls, NoFX way back in the day. So this is my heart and soul here.
Well, this sounds truthfully really, really good. Very professional. What can I say? I mean, we're listening to it. It's really good. And I think both of your stories, if I see something, it talks about not giving up, keeping your motivation, truly loving music, your craft, and with no expectations. Like you were saying, music is going to be with me. That's it. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, it's challenging sometimes to keep your motivation up. What can you tell us about that? Like, what's the way? For example, Tyler went back and said, "Well, I'm gonna put an ad. I really want to play again." How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was just missing it, and I think it's just start to assess your life and your wellness, and, you just want to make sure all these boxes are checked, like your physical, spiritual, emotional, like all of that. And I had a mentor, that I was learning a lot from, and we'd always talk about my days playing music, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you get back into that?" And I'm kind of like, am I too old now? So I think it was just having that person in my life to kind of encourage, and of course my wife is supportive, as well, and so we all have significant others that we have to negotiate with in terms of our time and stuff, and that's been really good, and I think that the motivation too, like just through the recording process. I mean, we went through a lot of things. We went through the birth of 2 children with our 2 band members who aren't with us right now, and just a lot of like ups and downs, especially like the learning curve. Antoine, I appreciate the compliments on the production but there's a lot of learning curve there, especially for Dan, our drummer, and Brandon, our bassist. They had both done, some editing and mixing and mastering before, but this was kind of the first time they've done it all together. And so it was an intense process with ups and downs, taking that on yourself. But I think, the motivating factor was just, in the end, the music. We wanted it to be the best that it could be, and we wanted to enjoy it, and just to know that, like, we could do this for ourselves and maybe in the future for other bands, because it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun, as well. And the more you learn, the more you increase that competency, the easier it is, So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think if I could add to that just real quick, the motivator for me in the beginning of Bad Graffiti was definitely just the two songs that I brought to the band in the beginning were Bright and Sidewalks, and they were just like acoustic recordings on my phone, right? And I remember Dan just being like, "Oh yeah, like those songs sound great. Let's put them down." And we just recorded like quick demos in one day, and just the feedback that we got with those two demos from our friends and family were just, the immediate, like, you can tell when someone listens to something and they're just telling you that they like it, and you can kind of also on the same token tell when they actually like it. So I think kind of just showing those two demos to people and being like, oh, people are actually really into this. That was a big motivator for me.
Wonderful. But what I think is you got that after you finished it, after you got it done. And something took you that far, something took you that length. You made the effort, you got it finished. It is so important. It's so important to stress to get it done. Finish it. Otherwise, it will be your acoustic guitar recording. And maybe a few of your friends and maybe your colleagues in your band would like it. But, it's so important to get it done. Alright, so let's move on. And I want to ask you, if you could design your perfect future for this project, what do you think that might look like?
I guess I don't typically. I'm not someone who looks too far ahead. Never really had like a 5-year plan or anything. But I guess with this project, it would be great to record a full length. That would be something that I'd be really into doing, and I know that we've talked a lot about it. I'm sitting on a pile of demos right now. We do have a single coming out, and my goal with that is going to be March or April. That single will be hopefully out. It's called Seasons. But, again, we're all DIY, so we all have full-time jobs, and so we don't have set deadlines for anything. But, the future for this band is, a single, do some shows, hang out, drink some beer. We're not, we don't have any grandiose plans or ambitions, but just to put out some good music and hopefully people like it.
I think it sounds pretty good. It's a really good plan. What about you, Tyler? Do you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo everything Brent said, and when you're kind of navigating all these priorities that we have, sometimes it's the feedback that really, propels, I think we would all be excited to hang out and record music. And I think for all of us, as we get older, that process is a lot of fun. And then, in today's age, being able to, put your music out on these platforms so quickly and spread. I mean, that's satisfying in itself. But if there is continually good feedback and people are interested in playing shows with us, and especially if like big bands that come through that we really admire and are sort of in the same vein, and we could open for them, or even kind of do a little take some days off, do a little Midwest route, tour or something like that. I mean, I think all of that is a possibility, and it just but I think the motivation for that has to do with kind of the response and our time. And so I'm really open, and I just enjoy making music with these guys. And and I think that for sure the priority, like Brent said, right now is to get the single out. And yeah, I agree, like doing a full length would be great. So many of these songs, Brent could speak more to this, but I know that they were kind of years kind of in the making, just kind of hanging on to them. And, like you were kind of saying, Antoine, it does feel good just to get something done and finished. And I know for me, like, I'm not satisfied until it's almost like before I can move on to something else, I have to complete and kind of get the complete expression out, and so, Brent, I'm not sure if you feel that way or not, but I know that a lot of things that you're working on are kind of represent an evolution from some of these songs on the EP already, because you were at a certain place when you wrote them years ago, and then we're able to finally get them out now, if that makes sense. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing how the sound evolves a little bit too, while still kind of, staying in pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to Tyler's point, a couple of these songs were written like 10 years ago. I mean, obviously they've changed a little bit along the way. But yeah, I mean, Tyler said that he has to get these things out before you can like move on to the next step, which is so true. Like, I've just had these songs and I'm just like, I know there's something here, but I just can't move on to the next song until this is laid down and put on an album and recorded. And that's such a good point. So I think, especially with this pile of demos that I'm sitting on, like, you'll hear in the next single Seasons that, there's already a lot of evolution within that single from this album. But then, the full length, this pile of demos that I'm sitting on, it's going to be a lot different. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Sounds good. Fantastic. It's like otherwise would be like a broken promise, right? That you made to yourself. You brought these songs to light for a reason. And not necessarily means that all of the ideas are going to become songs, but the ones that must become are going to speak to you in a different way. Very good. Very good. Excellent. I think this was a fantastic conversation with Bad Graffiti, and this music sounds again amazing, excellent. Want to thank you, both of you, for your time, for participating, for talking with me, speaking your honest belief. It's always a gift and a privilege to speak with true artists. And okay, so before we go...
Thank you.
Thanks to you. So before we go, question for the both of you is, if you had the opportunity to give an advice to your younger self, what do you think that'd be?
Oh, shoot. I didn't think you were going to ask that. Tyler, why don't you go first? I'll think of mine.
Oh, man. You can tell I'm like adulting now because I'm just like thinking like retirement and 401k stuff. But I know, Antoine, you're talking musically. Yeah, younger self. I mean, a lot of what you had said earlier, you said some insightful things about, taking risk, and just pursuing music for the love of it. And I think as an adolescent, you get caught. I mean, it's natural. You kind of get caught up in, all these different insecurities and things like that. And I think there are a lot of opportunities that I could have had I put myself out there a little more, or decided to do something that was maybe a little different. I firmly believe in providence and that all things are kind of working out the way they should in life. But yeah, if I had that hypothetical time travel opportunity or whatever, probably just encourage my younger self to take risk and to invest in the craft of music. And yeah, I would say to myself to learn an instrument way earlier. Like, a lot of folks, like I envy Brent and some of these friends of mine who have been playing music for so long because I had other things going on, sports and stuff like that. And there was always deep down a desire to do it, but I didn't have that opportunity or that encouragement from anyone. And so, if I could have started a lot younger, that would have been great. And I know with my own kids, I'm trying to, allow them whatever avenues they can have to explore music at a young age and just create. And I think it's such a healthy thing, So that'd be mine.
That was beautiful, Tyler.
Yeah.
I guess
you're beautiful.
I guess my thing would be don't get caught up in the moment. I think a lot of times people, especially me growing up, I would just get, this one really bad thing would happen and I would just be like, oh, this is the end of the world. Like I'm going to sit here and just be depressed and sit on my couch and, read about conspiracy theories or something. And I think if I were to go back and tell myself, you know what, life is long. You got a lot of years left. Life goes on, and just, look at yourself, keep trying to better yourself, choose the right path, and just remember that it ain't the end of the world, man. That's what I would tell myself.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you both again so much. This was fantastic. I truly appreciate your participation and wish you all of the best with this project, Bad Graffiti, and the rest of your music. Thank you again.
Yeah,
Thanks so
thank
much,
you, man. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to enjoy a little bit more of Bright. To the next one.
Of the typical libraries with conventional music that makes you feel meh. Introducing Leerecs.com, the music website made for and by minds like you. Our team are lifelong musicians and producers in love with music. Search the Leerecs music catalogs and find music with guaranteed originality. Mark the difference with music of signature at Leerecs.com.